Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Saturday, August 17th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread for today? First card we are starting our day off with today is Judgment in its reversal. I have to stress here, one of the nice things about being able to come into a point of decision is the fact of being able to see things from different perspectives. So we are recognizing and identifying right now judgment in its reversal. Why are we seeing so much of this judgment in its reversal right now? Because this is a lot of the energy that is it's not moving with that sense or space of doggedness. This is a lot of this work that we're seeing right now is introspective. It's a lot of considerations of all of the facets. It's a lot of rumination that we're seeing here. A lot of contemplation energy that we're recognizing during this specific Mercury retrograde. And what's nice about being in that modality is it's not just that moment of taking a plan of action and just moving forward on it, so much as it is considering, putting a lot of consideration into the facets of a circumstance or situation, allowing for that modality of seeing different energetic perspectives. For masculine and feminine deep within the divine union frequency right now, a lot of this work that we're seeing is that modality of reassessment, reconsideration, rolling something around in your own head to a certain degree. But one of the abilities and the positives that's occurring for a lot of the energy deep within the divine union frequency is the ability to do that with a counterpart. The ability to have that modality where, again, that moment when the past where you may have doubted yourself, having that ability or having that experience of taking something and being able to bring it forth to the counterpart to get their perspective or get their take on something. This is a lot of the energy that is being very intentional as they go forward. But that intentionality is also based upon considering all of the facets or all of the aspects of a circumstance or situation. Now, for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, this is a lot of the continuation of the path work that we've been seeing over the last few days, because we're recognizing and identifying that for a lot of the energy right now that is coming into divine union, a lot of this work that we're seeing right now has to do in relationality to rediscovering, reconsidering, retuning one's own perspective in relationality to how you navigate conflict. Pardon. So for a lot of the energy in this modality right now, having that ability to see the energy of conflict in such a way that it does not feel like it's creating a barrier, but rather that it's building a bridge. Having those modalities, having those experiences, this is a lot of energy that is reorienting at this time. And a lot of that reorientation, to a certain extent, is based upon or built upon that modality or experience wherein we're recognizing and identifying to a certain extent that this is the energy that is seeing the positivity points in engaging in what feels like productive argumentation. If these are energies in the past that it felt like every time there was that point of conflict, it created a point of separation. If these are the energies that are now having different perspective on things, seeing something in a different way, this is the energy that's seeing the beauty that can result in having a healthy, productive conflict, because it gives you that perception of a different perspective. And this could either be the perspective that is reframing the current version of self, what one is amending or trying to change going forward to make that even easier, or this is a lot of reconsideration on the past or seeing the past in a different way. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is some of the most difficult energy that we're seeing that is occurring right now for the energy in separation. Why are there so many difficulties that may be arising right now in separation? Because we see even now there is a juxtaposition that is occurring right now between the lessons that are being learned via masculine and feminine. Bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. For a lot of the masculine energy, a lot of this work that's occurring right now in separation has to do with the level and degree of confidence that you are feeling in relationality to your own emotions. We see that there may be a lot of masculine right now that is moving towards feminine with a high degree of emotional authenticity. The hurdle or the challenge that we're seeing here is that if masculine is only approaching feminine with that tenacity in relationality to their emotional expression, this is something that feminine has maintained and held for quite some time. So that feeling like a breakthrough, it doesn't feel so much like an energetic commitment point for a lot of the feminine energy, because the feminine energy has always been in that modality of being able to articulate and balance their own emotionality. What feminine is really looking towards right now in relationality to commitment is path work forward, in an ability to carve a path, in an ability to define and articulate not just how one is feeling, but what that path work is going forward. For a lot of the feminine energy, almost articulating to masculine that the expression of love doesn't feel so much like the expression of the emotionality that one feels towards the counterpart, so much as it does in relationality to what one wants to build or how one wants to grow with that counterpart. We see even now that for a lot of the energy in that modality right now, that's either leading to breakthroughs, an ability of really starting to be able to articulate and rebuild or build a path forward in relationality to where something is going, while also coming into the open, honest expression of how one feels. Or this is energy that may be coming into a state or space of breakdown, which is almost that modality of, again, this could even be moments of like a lot of the amplification of frustration, because we even said that for a lot of the feminine energy, having that energetic feeling that comes through when someone brings forth their emotions towards you, but doesn't bring with them the solution to the energetic problem of the emotions. What a lot of the feminine energy is feeling like right now is that feels like more of a burden that one is potentially giving to someone as opposed to a gift. Because if you give someone your emotions, but you don't tell them what to do with them, you're effectively giving it to them for them to be able to solve. Second card in our five, and that's why we see even now, this could be a little bit of this, like, I want to say a little bit of this like revisionist history that's happening in some of these experiences or circumstances, because I see with this judgment card and its reversal, that's a little bit of that energy of the feminine trying to maintain the energetic standards that we've been discussing, versus the masculine feeling like they're having a breakthrough and being able to articulate upon what their emotions are. Second card in our 5-card spread for today is, we have here our 9 of Pentacles in its upright. And so this is why we see even now there's a lot of this desire or this need to find and maintain something that feels like pathwork of resolution in relationality to a lot of that energy that's in separation at this time. This is more of the same message that we were getting yesterday, because again, if these are energies in separation that are articulating how, like, I see a lot of the masculine articulating to feminine how they feel. Masculine, just remember that if you're articulating to feminine how you feel without explaining to them what that means, what that looks like going forward, you might not necessarily get the desired result that you may expect, because this is not the feminine energy that is feeling like the articulation of emotions is romantic at this time. As we said, a lot of that feminine energy is feeling like if you're just bringing forth emotions, but you're not bringing the solution to like what that looks like going forward, a lot of this feminine energy is maybe saying, that's, like we said yesterday, that's good that you have feelings. I have feelings too. Would you like to know about them? Because that's a lot of the feminine energy that's putting a lot of focus right now in the practical space, in what feels like it is sustaining. A lot of the feminine energy right now is building and basic upon the fact that that feeling of love isn't just based on the feeling that's in the heart. It's based upon what is created around it, what feels like it is supportive. This is a lot of the feminine energy trying to articulate to masculine that it's not so much the articulation of love that indicates love, so much as what one chooses to do with it, the cultivation of love, the ability to grow around someone, the ability to grow something between the counterparts. So we see even now, this could be a lot of that same juxtaposition that we see was occurring, that is either allowing for a breakthrough in relationality to being able to build forth in terms of what that looks like going forward, or this is energy that's almost like maybe, and I want to say this could be a little bit of that this is that same conflict territory that we potentially saw was occurring last week for energy coming into divine union, because this could relate in some feelings of frustration If there's something there that feels energetically cyclical, because we see even now that there's a little bit of that feminine energy that was already in that modality of feeling the sense of others putting their emotions on the feminine, trying and like making it their responsibility to have to carry the weight of them. That the feminine is, again, this is where the feminine's kind of drawing those energetic standards to a certain extent and saying, giving me the expression of your emotions isn't love. Helping to identify and articulate how that comes into a place of care, how that comes into a place of compassion, how that comes into a place or space of caring for one another. This is a lot of the feminine energy potentially correcting masculine and saying that is what the feminine energy is perceiving as love going forward from this time. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, this is actually very pleasant, because if these were modalities where there was some kind of argumentation that came through, the energy seeing and feeling the healthiness, the vitality that can occur in a modality of experiencing something that may have felt like a bit of an energetic breakdown, this is the energy that's reframing a lot of those experiences in the past in the process. Because if this is energy wherein, again, there was some kind of observational point in recognizing and identifying, if either navigating through a space where masculine may have been very emotional about something, feminine being more pragmatic, much like we're seeing for the energy in separation. And these are modalities where, again, that sense of, again, either feeling the ability of recognizing and understanding to build pathwork going forward via the getting to know one another on a deeper level, or the energy that's learning about each other's traumas, triggers, in order to facilitate better work through conflict going forward. This is becoming the energetic tie that binds to a certain extent. And in that modality of experiencing or feeling that sense or that space of feeling something that can come into a healing vibration, well, it immediately gives clarity on anything in the past that wasn't that. So we see even now that for a lot of the energy navigating that space, having that experience, it's reorienting a lot of that past energy. So again, more of that affirmation that closure often comes from moving forwards, not from moving backwards. While for masculine and feminine energy that is deep within the divine union frequency right now, this is more of that feeling of confrontation that may be occurring, the same confrontation that we're seeing for some of the energy in separation right now. But a lot of this has to do with feeling like you're drawing those boundaries. You're setting those energetic standards. And a lot of that is coming into that state or space of recognizing and identifying what feels energetically comfortable. We saw even now a lot of that work that was happening for some of the energy within divine union is almost the amplification of trying to say towards energy outside of the union itself that the compassion is compassion, not because it's a natural state of being, but because it's intentional. And that ability of receiving it back in kind, that ability of almost recognizing and registering those spaces and places that come into a point of like appreciation of such. You know, this is the energy that, like, I want to stress this. This doesn't feel like the energy that does this. Like, this isn't energy that moves in this way because of the expecting desire for something to come back towards you in the same way that it is given forth. But it's more of that modality of being energetically mindful of those spaces or places that feel like those, like when you give that type of amplification, getting it back in kind, like it requires that modality of orientation. It requires that modality of recognizing it as such. So we see even now, this could be a lot of that energy deep within the divine union. That is like, this may even be like having to articulate to energy like what one's experience is so that they can get a sense of your own potential perspective on something. Third card in our 5-card spread for today is, we have here our King of Swords in its reversal. We keep going back and forth in terms of how this is affecting masculine and feminine energy. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. What's interesting about this right now, masculine, we keep seeing this, masculine is navigating some of those spaces and places with a heightened degree of compassion. This is the path work. right? This is a lot of the path work that we've been seeing that the masculine's been navigating, allowing oneself to be more vulnerable, allowing oneself to be more open, allowing oneself not to be as rigid, but to be able to take on someone else's perspective. A lot of the work of the energy within the divine union right now, this is a lot of masculine energy that is doing their work in terms of trying to be more adaptable. Complete opposite right now. And this is why I'm talking about this juxtaposition. Complete opposite right now for feminine energy. These are not energies that are having parallel lessons right now. This is feminine energy that is working on not being as adaptable, not being as flexible, holding to some of those energetic standards. So we see even now that for a lot of that energy, this is hard work, because this is the energy that questions themselves as they go. But when you question yourself as you go, it's like the important thing you need to ask yourself is that questioning because, and here's where the Mercury retrograde comes into play, because that's not the right way to move, or because you're doing something that doesn't feel like it's natural to you. So often when we're in that process of learning, we have to move into a modality that feels a little uncomfortable, right? We call that like pushing your own envelope to a certain extent, because these are the energies that are feeling themselves moving in modalities that they don't typically move in the natural way that they would. But that's that moment that you almost recognize that when you're working on, when you're trying to build a muscle that you're not used to using, it's going to feel a little awkward as you do it. It's going to feel a little difficult. So we see even now that for a lot of that energy, being able to do that, but almost recognizing and identifying the difference between feeling like that's something that's moving you up. Like if this is, I got to say right now, the way this is working, there's a lot of energy right now that is having to maintain their path of integrity, but by moving in a way that doesn't feel natural to them. And so when we have those modalities of moving forward in a way that doesn't feel natural to us in order to maintain our integrity, it's common for us to go into that moment of reconsideration in relationality to that energetic feeling, because this is the energy that's reassessing and asking themselves at every moment if they're feeling that discomfort. Is that the discomfort because it feels like you're moving off of your path of intentionality? Or is it because in order to stay on your path of intentionality, you have to move in a way that you're not typically used to moving? Well, for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, what we're effectively seeing that's occurring here is this is a lot of the energy that is feeling and recognizing the changes within the self, that is allowing for a place of conflict to feel like it is a fertile landscape instead of a demolition zone. Because for masculine, a lot of that is the hard work. And again, being able to learn the path work of being vulnerable. And we've talked a lot about this week. What do we mean? This is masculine relearning. There may have been there was a grammatical error here. Because if this was masculine that was taught in some way, shape, or form, that being emotionally vulnerable is not something feminine desires. What masculine is coming to understand is it's not, feminine actually finds that the masculine energy that's able to be emotionally vulnerable is extremely strong. But being emotionally vulnerable does not mean that you're just reactive to your emotions. That's emotional, right? Reacting to your emotions is not emotionally intelligent. It's emotional, right? So we see even now that there's a lot of this masculine energy that's working on, again, something that may feel like it's more uncomfortable to do. Being able to feel an emotion, but instead of reacting to it, expressing through it, which is the articulation point between being emotional as opposed to emotionally intelligent, right? Being like the self that is just beholden to the emotions versus the self that can feel the emotions and then articulate through them. So we see even now for a lot of that energy of the masculine, recognizing and identifying the value and the importance of that work is what is allowing for a sense of energetic breakthrough. And it's also potentially creating that moment of reconsideration of past experiences wherein you may have, that message may have gotten confused in some way, shape, or form. While for feminine energy, we're seeing here that for a lot of the feminine energy, a lot of that ability of being able to support the masculine through that may be, again, that ability is something that the feminine may be feeling like that sense of, again, encouragement. And there's more of that conversation here, more of that productive territory. And a lot of that has to be the feminine being open and adaptable to what the masculine is bringing forth at those times. Because if this is the masculine and feminine that are building upon that openness and conversation, this is more of the feminine saying to masculine, again, I see you are never more strong than when you are vulnerable. So long as that vulnerability is something that you have in control of. Because we've talked a lot about the fact that when masculine brings forth emotionality to feminine and is reactive to the emotionality, as opposed to being able to articulate through it, feminine immediately becomes energetically defensive, because feminine energy comes into that modality where they feel like they have to protect themselves from the masculine. So we see even now, this is the feminine doing that work of taking the armor down to be receptive and susceptible towards a masculine opening up in this way. And masculine doing that work of learning how to articulate through the emotions as opposed to reacting to them. While for masculine and feminine energy right now in separation, this is a lot more of this work that may be feeling like this could be more of those confusions that are potentially happening in communication. Because I'm seeing even now, and I got to stress this, if there's some masculine energy that is coming towards feminine and just articulating upon how they feel, and feminine saying that's great, but it's not helpful, it's not like, I need to see a path forward. This could be a lot of the masculine potentially coming towards feminine in a point of confusion, saying, I thought that you just wanted the expression of the emotionality, right? I thought that this is something that you energetically wanted. But this is the feminine energy that's, again, trying to articulate to masculine that commitment is not just the expression of how one feels. That commitment, much like an apology, is a two-step process. Commitment means the ability to articulate how you feel, and then the commitment or the pledge in relationality to what that is going to be building forward. So there could be a lot of the energy right now that may be going through some miscommunications in separation between the difference of someone getting something off of their chest, right? Like getting something off of their chest versus being able to give the gift to someone in terms of what that looks like going forward. So there could be a lot of these argumentation points here about articulating the difference between telling someone how you feel. There could be some masculine energy that may be going to feminine right now and being like, this is my commitment to you. I've had a breakthrough point. I'm telling you how I feel. And feminine being like, that's not a commitment. That's you getting something off of your chest. That's you expressing your emotions and the ability of taking those emotions and telling the feminine what it is you want to do with them. That's the feminine saying that is the feminine's expression of what love is. Seeing that energetic articulation, talking into that future, being able to build together. So we see even now, like a lot of that energy, maybe having a little bit of the modalities of confusion right now, built and based upon the difference between a masculine articulating what their emotions are, which again, when you articulate your emotions to someone without a plan for them, you're basically giving them a homework problem to solve, giving them like an extra burden. You're like, carry my stuff, here, carry my, like that's the thing, masculine's being like, I'm telling you this, I'm giving you the gift of what I feel. And feminine's like, if there's not a course of action on what you feel, you're just giving them to me to hold. Fourth card in our 5-card spread. But I do see that there is some energy right now. It's not all lost, because there is some energy that's doing that dual path work. It's the expression of the emotionality, also building into the sense of what that means going forward. And that is the energy that feels like they're building into that energetic commitment that could be leading into divine union. Fourth card in our 5-card spread for today is Ace of Wands. So again, I'm telling you right now, this is the thing. This is why energy like this is very volatile. And this is why I'm telling you even now, masculine, I'm trying to help you. Masculine energy, if you're going towards feminine right now with your emotions, make sure that you articulate what that means going forward. Because if not, this is that moment that you may be feeling like you're giving feminine a gift and you might be a little surprised about how they respond to it. If you don't build that pathwork going forward, please listen to me on this right now. I've been saying this over the last few days. Because again, masculine, the articulation of your emotionality, I know you feel like it's a breakthrough. I know you feel like it's this like amazing thing. But for feminine, if you don't amplify the articulation of what you feel with what that means going forward, what the shape of that is, how it actually navigates the tangible plane, then feminine just feels like it is a burden that you're asking them to carry. So be very mindful of that. Make sure that you're building into that context of what that means going forward. Feminine, you may have to articulate this to masculine at some point today. But I do see that for some of the energy right now, this is a beautiful breakthrough point. There could be a lot of this planning that's happening. There could be a lot of this articulation on that to a certain extent. While for masculine and feminine energy, that is coming into divine union. A lot of this work that we're seeing that is occurring right now for masculine and feminine energy, this is the resolution of healthy conflict energy. Because if this is energy that came out of a conflict space and it felt like it was fertile territory, it felt like it was creating those modalities of positivity. It was creating those modalities of proliferation, of being able to have new ideas, having those breakthroughs. Well, a lot of this energy is either, again, recognizing and identifying, or modalities wherein, again, you recognize that something about what happened in that point of conflict moved you off of your own alignment. This is the energy that's committing to those changes going forward and feeling that breakthrough point and the security of what they're building into at this time. Or this is the energy that's healing, like letting go of a lot of trauma in the past. And for masculine and feminine, it's requiring different work. For masculine, a lot of that work is learning, again, coming into that ability of not becoming reactive, not subjecting another to one's emotions, but being able to express through it. For feminine, it's that ability of being able not to become energetically defensive when someone articulates how they feel, but rather being receptive to it in order to facilitate that point of understanding and recognizing another perspective. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is deep within the divine union, a lot of this work that we're seeing that is occurring deep within the divine union right now may be having to hold forth on energetic standards. And for some of that energy deep within the divine union right now, having to maintain those energetic standards are actually putting you in a state or space that may feel a bit more uncomfortable for you at this time. Because a lot of the energy I'm seeing deep within the divine union right now is having to recognize that in order to stay intentional, you have to kind of move out of your comfort zone. For masculine, this may be requiring you to have to be more adaptable than you typically feel comfortable being. For feminine, this may be requiring you to have to be more energetically resilient than you would ideally aspire and desire to be. But we see even now that for both of these energies, that's the pushing out of that's pushing, and that's why there's a lot of that reassessment of that. Because that's the difference between doing something that feels uncomfortable because it feels like it's energetically wrong versus doing something that you know is the right thing to do, but it feels uncomfortable because you're not used to doing it. Fifth card in our 5-card spread for today is a lot of that's because this is a lot of energy of transformation right now. Heavy transformation energy right now. A lot of change that's occurring right now. Masculine and feminine energy, that change that we're articulating, these are the changes within the self. This is learning, this is pushing you out of your comfort zone in a way. But what happens when we push out of our comfort zone to be able to stay intentional? That's how we stretch. That's how we build a muscle, right? This is almost the energy that's like utilizing the muscles that they're not necessarily typically used to using. Because if this is feminine, it doesn't have that tendency of being energetically firm. If this is feminine that has a tendency of being more adaptable and compassionate, that's a lot of the feminine that's going, why does this feel funny because it's not the right thing to do? Or does it feel funny because I don't do this frequently? If this is masculine that's trying to be more vulnerable, trying to be more adaptable to stay on that path of intentionality, this is masculine going, does this feel weird to do because it's a wrong thing to do, or does it just feel weird to do because I'm not used to doing it? While for masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union, that change work, that energy of change, this is the ability of having come through some kind of space of conflict, but immediately feeling it's not necessarily that energy that creates a wall, but the conflict that creates transformation. So even here, this is either the energy that navigated conflict with such easement that it's a recognition point that you've already transformed. You've already changed into some kind of modality, especially if you're used to a lot of those conflicts from the past, always creating those separation points or always creating those walls. While for some of this masculine and feminine energy, if these were modalities where, again, you recognized or saw something within the self that occurred in a moment of conflict coming forth, but you're addressing them, you're speaking towards them, you're potentially even talking about the experiences in the past wherein you kind of learn those less than healthy coping mechanisms. This is the energy that's recognizing the changes within the self that they're mutually choosing to implement in order to allow for an easement point in conflict going forward. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, in separation, breakdown or breakthrough, breakdown or breakthrough, breakdown or breakthrough, breakdown or breakthrough, breakdown or breakthrough. There is either energy right now that is having tremendous breakthroughs, potentially starting to build into those plans that are going to lead into divine union. Or I told you that volatility could be something that like really fundamentally separates going forward. And all of it has to do not just with the expression or the openness of one's emotions, but the mindfulness that when you give someone your emotions, you have to have done your homework. You have to tell them what you wanted that to do. You have to tell them what you're hoping to manifest through them. Because I'm telling you even now, for a lot of that energy that's having that mutual expression point of articulating how they feel. For masculine, for feminine, receiving the masculine energy that says how they feel and also what that means in relationality to what they want to change going forward. That's that breakthrough. That's that like hallelujah moment for a lot of the feminine energy, because that would be the articulation of seeing something that feels like it's come into a pathwork of change. Whereas if this is, again, and this is what I'm talking about with like breakdown, if this is the energy of receiving something from feminine, masculine, that's just the articulation of how they feel, but also in the midst of a blockage, like a tangible blockage in relationality to what that means. This could be a lot of the energy of the feminine that's feeling the frustration and overwhelm of having received something that doesn't feel so much like a gift, so much as, again, like a problem that masculine is putting at the feet of the feminine in order to solve. So I'm seeing even now, just recognizing and identifying that. This is breakdown or breakthrough. Make sure if you're articulating your emotions to someone today, that you're making sure to also tell them what that means. Like what that means in relationality to change. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Judgment card and its reversal in combination with our Nine of Pentacles. One card to clarify, please. Clarification, Tower in its reversal. You see this? This is good. This is good. Because I see even now, and the one thing I will say about this is like the one thing I'm seeing here is there's a lot of that energy that may be having, and this is what I mean. This is either productive, fertile territory. This is either something that feels like a breath of fresh air. It feels like an easement point. It feels like the articulation of emotionality, but also with a path going forward. That feels like that sigh of relief. Or this is potentially someone, again, and this is why I'm seeing even now, if this is just the masculine coming towards feminine and saying, this is how I feel, feminine almost is immediately going to respond. I'm telling you right now, masculine, what's potentially going to happen. The feminine's going to say, that's really nice. Would you like to know how I feel? Would you like to know how I feel? Like, because that's that modality that we're seeing here about the feminine, and this is a feminine doing that work as well. This is the feminine doing that work as well, because you have to bear in mind, we've been seeing that feminine has been incredibly practical during this retrograde cycle. We just keep seeing that masculine's going through a huge emotional transformation during this Mercury retrograde. A lot of coming into contact or coming into touch with your own emotions. Feminine is getting more and more and more and more and more and more practical during this retrograde cycle. So if masculine is coming towards feminine right now, feeling like the expression of emotionality is going to be this beautiful romantic moment, you may be a little bit surprised that what you receive from the feminine is not that energy of the feminine going, ah, but more of the feminine being like, are you going to pick up a broom or not? Like, are you going to get to work? Do you see what I'm doing? Like, this is a lot of that energy of feminine that's really like looking towards the practical right now. So even here, this could be that moment. Like the feminine's really looking to masculine and saying to masculine, I don't need you to tell me how you feel. I need you to tell me how that helps. I need you to tell me what that looks like in the shape of what that is that we're building together, right? That's that energy of the feminine. This is why there could be so much of this conflict territory that may be happening right now in separation. because the expression or the articulation of love that is being desired right now, feminine wants to feel that sense of someone that is able to give forth to them, but not in a way of just giving them more work to do. So right now, if the feminine is just receiving from masculine all of these feelings without anywhere to put them, like it's like giving them, it's like filling their arms with them, and the feminine just looking and going, what am I supposed to do with this? So like, that's why we see even now, that could either be that moment where if masculine, if you're articulating what that means, it could be a beautiful, profound breakthrough that's occurring. But if not, there could be a lot of the feminine that may receive those from the masculine. And I'm telling you right now, they might just go, no, these are for you to carry. I've got stuff to do. It's not, it may be that, and a lot of explanations as to why. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union right now, a lot of this energy that we're seeing that's coming into divine union, this is the peace that comes after healthy conflict. This is the energy that is healing and working through potentially past experiences. Because if this is energy that went through productive conflict without it feeling like there was a wall that was created, without feeling like there were triggers that were being set, feeling just that productivity in that moment, masculine, having that ability, feeling that success metric in articulating about your emotions instead of reacting to them. Feminine, building that supportive framework of allowing the masculine to be able to express what they feel openly without taking it personally. This is the energy. This is some of that Leo energy that goes like, good job, us. We did good. Whereas if these are energies that recognize that they slipped a little bit on that, as long as there's a note taking on it, as long as there's an observation of the energy saying like that's something that I need to work on, right? And that's that mutual accountability that we're seeing here of the energy recognizing and identifying what has occurred versus what they need to change going forward. Even there, that is energy that's staying, like moving into that point of catharsis. Because again, this is an energy that slips out of alignment and then says you just have to deal with it. Let's pretend that didn't happen. Why do you keep talking about that? Because when we do that, what we're really saying is you have to get used to that. That's where the energetic standard's going to be. That's where it could go again. You just have to get used to that. These are not the energies that are doing that. These are the energies that are maintaining those energetic standards going forward in order to facilitate healthy, healed, energetic, even in moments of conflict, building into the ability to navigate conflict in better and healthier ways. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, this is the energy that if they're feeling that point of discomfort in doing something in a way that feels uncomfortable, this is the energy that's immediately remembering the difference between the discomfort that comes in doing something that you feel like isn't your intention versus the energy that feels like in order to move with intention right now, they have to do something that they may not necessarily feel they're used to doing. For feminine being more resilient, for masculine being more adaptable. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Nine of Pentacles in its upright and our King of Swords in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with the Page of Pentacles in its reversal. And so this is a lot of the energy that's navigating in this way, doing something that they're not used to doing. That's why they're called lessons. That's why they're called lessons. Do you think lessons were going to be something that that keeps you in your comfort zone? No. Lessons are something that you have to learn how to do. So even now we see that there's a lot of the energy right now deep within the divine union frequency that is doing a lot of work in terms of navigating energetic lessons. And those energetic lessons are requiring them to utilize parts of themselves that they might not necessarily feel are their fault, like their natural inclination or their natural state of being. For masculine, having to be more compassionate, having to be more adaptable. Feminine, having to be more resilient, having to be more energetically firm. That's that moment. I told you, it's like the muscle memory. It's like doing something in a way that you're not used to doing. If it's like hard to do, it's because you're like, I never do this. I never do it like this. It's like feeling like you're using your opposition. Like it's like doing something in a way that you're just not, like you're taking a different tactic to something. But again, you're doing that because the circumstances or situations are requiring them from you. While for masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union, a lot of this work that we're seeing coming into divine union at this time is based upon and built upon that ability. And I tell you even now, this is where some of this could feel very vulnerable. Because again, if these are modalities wherein you were in some kind of conflict with the counterpart, and some part of you came forward that did not feel like it was energetically helpful, and these are the energies that are effectively navigating forward and articulating about what they want to change in relationality to their own reactivity going forward. This is more of that unpacking of trauma. And that unpacking of trauma is valuable and it is important, because that's not the excuse that's being stated. That's not the excuse that's like saying, this is why, and you have to tolerate it because of that. This is the energy that's providing reasons and context to why something that they brought forth into that energy was necessary in the past. This could be a lot of the energy that's articulating and unpacking those experiences where something that they brought forth that was less than helpful in a conflict may have been necessary in a place or space that was less than healed where it was. So this is a lot of that energy that's saying, like, you know, that coping mechanism you saw, that saved me at some point. That defense mechanism you saw, that was the only thing I had to hold on to at some point. So we see even now in the ability of articulating it, what happens in the minute that we can see it within ourselves. We recognize that that is not us, and we have the choice to be able to let go of it. So a lot of the energy is working on letting go of some of those unhealthy coping mechanisms that they may have had in the past, recognizing and identifying that they're no longer energetically needed. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. I'm going to tell you right now, if anybody is telling anyone about their emotions right now, you better be practical about it. You better articulate as to why. You better explain if it's for an apology. You better explain if it's because you want to build forth going forward. You better have that plan. Bring the emotions with a plan, because I see even now. Just send them to this video if you need to. Like, I see even now, if someone just comes forward right now in the midst of all of this retrograde energy and feels like it's some profound gift to articulate about how they're emotionally feeling, there's going to be a lot of that energy that looks at it and says, that's good, but what does that mean? Like, and again, that's because for the feminine right now that's working on setting those energetic standards in relationality to their own sense of compassion, this is the feminine that's almost looking towards masculine and saying, I recognize that you may feel like the ability to articulate upon your emotions is a triumph, because it is. I got to tell you this. Like, you know, I feel like a lot of the feminine energy that's maybe receiving this should take into value like how much it may take for the masculine to be able to articulate in that way. But masculine, what you need to recognize and identify is that that gift is something that feminine has been able to do this entire time. That's not something that's difficult for the feminine. So you have to recognize that what the feminine is seeking is not just the articulation upon how one is emotionally feeling. Because if you articulate that without giving them a course of action in relationality to what that means, that's a feminine that just feels like you're giving them the burden. You're unburdening, you're not holding your emotions, you're just trying to unburden them on the feminine without giving them a place to put them. Words that mean nothing without action. Continuing to get clarification between our King of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Ace of Wands in its upright. Clarification coming through right now with our Nine of Swords in its reversal. I'm not surprised to see a card like this during the Mercury retrograde, because this could be a lot of the energy talking about the past today. This could be a lot of the energy that is being very energetically mindful of the difference. Again, a lot of the energy right now, this is the difference between a breakdown and a breakthrough. A lot of the energy paying attention to the difference between a breakthrough and a cycle. The difference between a breakthrough and a cycle. A breakthrough is navigated by something that has changed. A cycle is something that has occurred again and again and again and again and again. So, you know, when the past comes back, often the past comes back in the form that it hasn't changed, right? It's just a repetition of the past. We've got a lot of that repetition of the past occurring here potentially between our Judgment card in its reversal and our Four of Swords in its reversal. But again, a lot of the energy in separation is not just looking for the past to come back. They're looking and they're identifying and recognizing what feels like it's actually productive, what feels like it is different. So we see even here for masculine and feminine, this is why there's a bit of this juxtaposition that's occurring right now in the lessons that are happening, which needs to be taken into account. Masculine, bear in mind, feminine's been working on this lesson, on the lessons of not just moving towards what their emotions guide them on, but being very intentional, looking and navigating whether it feels like it meets the manifestation goals going forward. Feminine, recognize and identifying. Masculine has been doing this work in terms of learning to come into contact or connection with their emotionality, building forth in such a way in order to be able to not feel like they have to hide from their emotions, not feel like that moment where the emotions overwhelm or control them, but the ability to articulate through them feels like a massive milestone right now for a lot of the masculine energy. The recognition of one's own lesson isn't enough. You have to be very mindful about, again, the compassion and the empathy towards what the counterpart energy may be working through at this time. So masculine, keep that in mind. It doesn't diminish the accomplishment point. If you're feeling like you finally reached this milestone where you feel like you can be able to articulate upon your emotions as opposed to reacting to them, just recognize and identify that you're bringing that forth towards an energetic counterpart that may already know how to do that to a certain extent. And for feminine, having that modality, wanting to see that energetic change coming into that space, it may have to require feminine not to become reactive here, because I could see a lot of the feminine energy experiencing that, and it could feel like the straw that breaks the camel's back, especially if these are in relationality to circumstances or experiences where you've been doing all of that path work and saying to oneself that other people's emotions, while you have to be mindful of them, while you have to be empathetic towards them, are effectively not your burden. The modality of learning and working on trying to hold those standards at this point, at the moment that masculine brings forth the results of their energetic lesson, you can see how this is like that perfect setup in the Mercury retrograde that could be rife for a lot of energetic miscommunication or confusion. So again, emotions are good, plans are better. Masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, this is a lot of the unpacking of the past. This is either the unpacking of the past, articulating upon the experiences wherein you may have learned unhealthy coping mechanisms that you may have inadvertently brought into the divine union, or this is the energetic equivalent of, again, experiencing the easement through which you can navigate conflict currently that effectively is allowing you to surrender any of those burdens from the past with new perspective in terms of how much how far you've come and how you'll be moving forward with the counterpart. Masculine and feminine energy right now, this is breaking out of old cycles. This is energy deep within the divine union frequency that's having to break out of old cycles by doing something that's much harder than you typically would do. This is the energy that's being pushed out of their comfort zone in a little bit, like in a way. It's requiring masculine to be more adaptable. It's requiring feminine to be more resilient. Both energies feel uncomfortable in that pose because it's not something that they feel used to doing. But that's why they're doing it, because it's like the energetics, it's like the strength training exercise of having to do something that doesn't feel natural because it helps you move in the direction that you're intending, right? Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Ace of Wands in combination with our Death card. Two very strong cards in combination. Very, very strong cards. One card to clarify, please. Clarification. Oh, you see, this is good though. We've got here, this is important. We've got here our Nine of Wands, Swords in its reversal. So a lot of this right now, this is for energy deep within the divine union frequency. This is why we see so much of this judgment in its reversal. Because if this is energy that is feeling, like mildly uncomfortable in terms of what they're doing right now, it feels like it's not something they're used to doing. This is the energy that's articulating and reaffirming to themselves and saying, is that discomfort because I'm doing something that's against my intentionality? Or is that the discomfort that I'm feeling because I'm having to do something in a way I'm not used to doing it, right? That's how the energy, that's why there's that continual reassessment right now, because this is the energy that is recognizing the difference between feeling uncomfortable because you're uncomfortable with something that you're doing versus feeling uncomfortable because you're doing something in a way that's forcing you to push out of your comfort zone. While for masculine and feminine energy, and one is problematic, the other is profound. So we see even now, like that observational point, that could be potentially the energy that's reassessing that with the counterpart to get that sense of a clear mirror, to reaffirm their own energetic commitment in relationality to what they're doing and how they're seeing it, to feel and to see if the energy of the counterpart agrees as well, acting as clear mirrors. Masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union. A lot of that energy coming into divine union right now is facing and experiencing these modalities of having gone through conflict energy, but recognizing the easement, the productivity, the healing that can occur when we allow ourselves to be adaptable to change via a conflict with the counterpart. Because these are not the energies that are going through conflict and then they're building walls between one another. These are not the energies that are going through those modalities or those experiences where they're staying rigid or firm or refusing to see the perspective of the counterpart. These are the energies that are curious. These are the energies that are working on self-improvement. These are energies that see the possibility of expansion through every energetic hurdle. And so we see even now that release or relief of recognizing and that's not something that you can do like singularly, right? You can't be in a modality where one person is willing and adaptable to change and the other one refuses to do so, right? So this is the energy that's recognizing the alignment of being in a partnership where that doesn't feel like it's requiring all of one energy to do something or all of another. This is the energy that feels the balance point in both energies, recognizing and identifying what is within their own power to change for the sake of building forth into a healthy energetic connection versus what is the energy of the counterpart. And this is the energy that takes those roles and responsibilities on together, that becomes the energetic tie that binds. While for masculine and feminine in separation right now, this is what I keep seeing right now. Look at this. Do you see this? Do you see this? This is either the breakthrough or the breakdown right now in connections. This is either the breakthrough or the breakdown in energetic connections. And it has everything to do with whether someone is bringing forth to a counterpart right now feels like it is productive. Whether it feels like there is also the articulation point in terms of how one feels and what one is willing to change in order to facilitate moving forward with that feeling, versus the energy that may just feel like the repetition of a cycle in terms of someone articulating how they feel, but not being able to articulate what to do with it. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Tower card in its reversal in combination with our Page of Pentacles in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with the Star in its reversal. This is why do you see this right now? Do you see how close these two are but so far apart? This is the difficulty in the pathwork right now that's occurring during this retrograde. Masculine, working through that sense of vulnerability, the strength in vulnerability. This is a little bit of that confusion that we're seeing. For masculine, this is masculine potentially looking at feminine with confusion and being like, I thought you wanted me to tell you how I felt. I thought that we were supposed to build forward in terms of an emotional connection. I thought that this is what you were seeking from me. And this is the feminine saying to the masculine, yes, but no. Because this is the feminine that's articulating to masculine, emotions are important. It's important. And these could be energies doing this both to one another. Emotions are important. Emotions are valuable. It is really critically important to be able to tell someone how one feels. And masculine, you may now be remembering experiences where this may have happened to you as well. But if you have a modality where someone just tells you how they feel, but they don't give you a course of action connected to it, then all it creates a sense of confusion, because what someone is basically doing is saying, these are my feelings and I'm giving them to you to solve. Figure it out. Figure out what to do with. I don't know. I don't want them. I don't want them. Here, take this off my hands. I don't want anything to do with these. I'm going to give them to you. I know they're confusing. I don't know I don't want them either. Take this off my hands. So we see even now that modality, there's a lot of this work that's happening right now in terms of articulating that to a certain extent, that says, listen, the emotions are good, but the reason we do the work in feeling the things that we do and introspecting on what we do with them is once we know what we feel, we can look at it and go, what do I want from them? Like, why am I giving these to someone? What is it? What is the purpose? What is the intentionality? And there could be a lot of that emotion here. Like, I could see there even is potentially some modalities here of someone coming into a state or space of apology. But again, if that's that apology, I see even now, this is either the energy that's coming into that modality of apology, but this is either the energy coming into apology, but some of the energy almost saying like, well, it's not necessary, but thank you, because it's like a little bit of this, like, there's a lot of this like reconsideration energy I'm seeing here, or this is a lot of that energy that we're effectively seeing to a certain extent that is looking towards how someone feels, but paying more attention as to what that means. Paying more attention to like what the implications are, paying more attention to like what the vision is in relationality to what that means going forward. So I see even now that this is either a modality where like there could be a lot of like beautiful energy here. There could be a lot of beautiful breakthroughs. There could be a lot of transformation that occurs here in the energy saying like I want to like this is what I hope and aspire and desire building forward. But there could be a lot of energy that could be like potentially reach a little bit of a breaking point today. If someone feels like there's that expansion point of giving someone the emotionality without articulating as to what that means in the long term. Masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union. A lot of this energy coming into divine union, like this is catharsis, this is forgiveness, this is appreciation. And I will stress, if this is energy that's hard on themselves because they don't feel like they energetically handled something in the way that they aspired or desired to, I need to point out their own ability to acknowledge that is what is becoming cathartic and healing here. Because this is the energy that's like reaffirming to one another in the journey that their job isn't to be perfect. Their job is to be considerate of one another. Their job is to be energetically mindful. Their job is to like work on that modality of being supportive to one another. So we see even now, like even in the acknowledgement of something that one hopes to do better, that in a way is the energetic commitment that you're recognizing in the counterpart, because that's the energy saying, I want to do better for us. And that's not the energy that says, I will change anything about myself to suit your needs. This is the energy that says that the ability to modify and to come into that point of matching one another, like that's something that is the mutual path work, because that's the energy that shares that energetic burden. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within the divine union, this is just the amplification in whether energy outside the divine union is on the same page. And that's why we see even now there may be those modalities that, again, if this is the energy that's feeling the frustration, it has a lot to do with that observation point of moving into a point that doesn't feel natural. But that's because you're learning and you're working through the energetic lesson of doing something that when we do something, when we move with intentionality out of our comfort zone, we learn a lot about ourselves in the process. So if this is feminine trying to maintain healthy boundaries and being less compassionate than typical, this is the feminine that almost is going through that process. And this is what the masculine's been saying to feminine all week. Why do you feel badly saying no? Why do you feel badly maintaining your energetic standards? What taught you that? Where did that come from? So this is a lot of that energy of the feminine, because this is masculine that was taught the opposite. This was masculine that was taught, be always ready, to maintain those energetic standards. Be very willing to always say no when you have to, right? So I told you, these are the energies. They're taking pages from one another's books. So if this is masculine, that is learning to be less binary, that's learning to be more adaptable, to be more curious, to think outside the box a little bit more. This is feminine looking towards masculine and saying, like, what, you know, who required you to be so rigid? What made you feel like you had to kind of build strength by being firm, right? So both of these energies learning from one another as they go and as they grow. But sometimes that growth, it can feel a little uncomfortable because you're not used to it. Continuing to get clarification between our Page of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Four of Swords in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Ten of Swords in its upright. So I told you, this is the retrograde for the shedding of the ego. There's a lot of energy, because I'm telling you right now, what happens when you move out of your comfort zone? When you do something in a way that you're not typically used to doing it, and then you feel the uncomfort of it. But then you have to say to yourself, why does this feel uncomfortable? This is a lot of the energy that's recognizing those parts of the ego that don't necessarily feel like they're necessary, right? This is the egoic shedding to a certain extent. And we see even now that for a lot of that energy, I told you, this is the retrograde that's kind of requiring you to check your ego at the door, right? For feminine energy, if these are those modalities where feminine has always felt that vibration of having to be nice, having to be adaptable, having to be like, here. Feminine coming into that point of saying, it doesn't require, like, I can be energetically firm. I don't have to be so soft. I can be a little bit more resistant. This is the feminine that's like moving out of the space of their own egoic center, right? They're building into that state or that space of like rigidness to a certain extent, right? And this is the feminine energy being encouraged by the masculine to build upon that point of confidence, right? This is the masculine energy saying like, don't worry about the expectations of others. Be mindful about what feels right for you in the process. While for feminine, this is feminine saying to masculine, don't feel you have to prove to others that you're strong. Your ability of being adaptable, your ability of being curious, your ability of being vulnerable, that is a sense of strength. So a lot of that work we're seeing right now for the energy deep within divine union is learning to navigate those spaces and places, but with a lot of that vulnerability that's allowing you to basically like check your ego at the door. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union right now, a lot of this energy that is coming into divine union right now, this is a lot of that healing. And what's beautiful about this healing is a lot of this healing that we're seeing to a certain extent, it is recognizing the closing out of a cycle. Because a lot of this work that we're seeing to a certain extent right now, this work that we're seeing that's facilitating, having navigated a circumstance or experience that would have created an energetic wall and experiences of the past, but now it's creating that fertile territory. Now it's creating those energetic breakthroughs. Now it's creating those modalities, potentially even recognizing some of those tendencies of the self that you feel like you no longer need to protect yourself from because you're in an environment that they're no longer necessary. This is a lot of that letting go process. This is a lot of those closing out of the past cycles to a certain extent. And in that point of closure comes a lot of healing, because this is the energy that as they come into that point of recognition, you understand and recognize either those experiences from the past that require them of you. You're no longer that person in the modality of being able to articulate and see it. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is in separation, like a lot of this work that we see right now in separation, this is that modality or experience where we're just identifying and recognizing to a certain extent that some of that work that we're seeing here, this is that energy that is identifying, and I told you right now, the breakthrough or the breakdown. Because I see even here, if these are modalities where someone is coming towards a counterpart and saying, this is how I feel, and this is what I'm changing because of how I feel, then there could be a lot of energy right now that is feeling the release and relief of seeing something that feels like it's actually changing. It feels like there's pathwork of transformation there. But if there's energy here, someone just coming forward, just articulating upon their emotionality, but not giving any kind of clarification as to what to do with it, or where that goes, or how that's like what point of productivity is there. We see even now that could be a moment where a lot of energy is just kind of like reach their point of having to help someone recognize the difference between what feels like it is a gift versus what feels like it's an energetic burden. Continuing to get clarification between our Four of Swords and its reversal in combination with our Nine of Swords and its reversal. I like seeing these two cards in combination during this retrograde. Six of Swords. This is beautiful because this is progress. This is a lot of energy and separation. It's not just looking like, especially, and look, I got to tell you, it's a retrograde. We're very used to circumstances and situations from the past coming back forward during these retrograde cycles. What's valuable and important about some of those cycles that we're seeing right now is more of that observational point and recognition of whether something feels like there is progress that can occur, that there's a path forward, and for some of the energy and separation right now, this could be like a breakthrough day. This could be seeing and recognizing something that feels like it is energetically changed, because someone is not only just articulating how they feel, but they're articulating what they want to, what is going to change in relationality to what they feel. The words becoming action that allow for that sense of validation in terms of the pathwork going forward. For some of the energy right now, if this is just the articulation, someone just articulating how they feel without being able to articulate what that means, this could be a lot of the energy that's just kind of letting go of something. Because that could be a lot of, and especially if there's something there that feels like it is cyclical of nature, something that has happened before. This is a lot of the energy that is potentially feeling the weight and bearing the weight of recognizing what feels like it is a gift when we express our emotions. The emotionality that has intentionality behind it, that is the expression of love, versus the energy of longing. What is longing? Longing is the expression of love without any intentionality put forth to it. So there's a lot of energy right now that is potentially learning the difference between love and longing. Love is the energy that, again, articulates what they feel with a course of action in terms of what that means going forward. Longing is the articulation of how you feel without any place to put it. It's just the expression that creates pain instead of progress. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, coming into divine union, a lot of this energy coming into divine union right now, this is feeling the catharsis and having some breakthroughs, particularly in the realm of areas or situations wherein there was some modalities of difficulty over the last few weeks or so, because we saw that same conflict that's occurring right now in separation was happening for a lot of the energy coming into divine union. But again, these are not energies that are holding on to the past and utilizing them as weapons. These are the energies that are being very mindful and almost having, like, a lot of the work I'm seeing here, that a lot of the energy is articulating as they go forward from this point, is the affirmation of saying to one another, we only reach into the past if we feel like we're bringing forth tools. We only reach into the past if we feel like we're getting something productive from it. If it's something that informs upon the present experience, not something that we bring forth to try to energetically hurt one another along the way. So we see even now, like, that is the moment of, again, the ability to look backwards. That is the amplification of wisdom, as opposed to the amplification of bitterness, which is, again, when we look, wisdom is being able to look at the past and being able to extract lessons from it. Bitterness is the ability to reach back into the past and only pull out weapons. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now for the energy deep within the divine union, this is the moving out of your comfort zone. And for a lot of this energy, that ability of doing so is almost requiring you to have a little bit of that path work in relationality to what you feel like you're doing. You're recognizing how you may have addressed something in the past that has changed. And that's why we see so much of this judgment card in this reversal here, because this is the energy that's asking themselves if those changes are based upon intentionality, because it's making you kind of move out of your comfort zone. But for a lot of that energy, doing something in a way that's outside of your comfort zone so that you can maintain the intentionality that you're trying to bring forth. It's hard work, but it's vital, because that's why it's a lesson. It's teaching you to do something that you're not used to doing. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Star card in its reversal in combination with our Ten of Swords in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our King of Wands in its upright, which we love to see. Masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within the divine union. One of the things that we see that is happening right now is, again, the beauty of the help on this right now, especially if these are energies that in the past would have questioned themselves in this way. The energy acting as a clear mirror for one another. A lot of that is the reaffirmation. And this is how the energies are assisting one another. Because if these are modalities, again, where feminine feels that point of sadness, feels that point of frustration in having to maintain an energetic standard. This is almost the feminine energies like working through and saying, like, again, this is a lot of the feminine being like, I feel like feminine saying, why do I feel bad when I hold an energetic standard? This is a lot of the masculine energy maybe informing to the feminine and being like, I don't know, let's unpack that. But also like recognizing and identifying and saying to a certain extent, yeah, because you were kind of built in that space or place where someone wanted to make you as adaptable as possible. Someone told you that your value was in how adaptable you were to the energy around you to a certain extent. So we see even now like a lot of that work of the feminine coming through that's unpacking a lot of that deep energetic trauma. While for masculine, working with feminine in this modality, if masculine's like, well, you know, why do I feel like being adaptable feels like it's energetically weak? This is feminine looking towards masculine and saying, because again, you were brought in that space or place that told you that strength required you to shut down your emotional center. It required you to pretend like to close off a part of yourself. So we see even now, like these are the energies that are helping one another heal, but it's not just helping one another heal. It's recognizing the spaces and places that may have created that from the past. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, if these are modalities where there's something that came up in conflict that felt like it wasn't helpful, it felt like it was hurtful, this is the energy that's looking back on the past and saying, well, yes, there were experiences. And this is almost the energy that, again, is articulating upon the reasons, not utilizing them as excuses, but saying this is what brought those forth so that we can work on them going forward. So this is a lot of the energy articulating upon their triggers. So this could be a lot of the masculine saying, you're right, there were modalities in the past that I was told to like use my emotions in a way that I could use them as weapons, to allow myself to get angry, to allow myself to take that and like utilize it in a way that became like defensive as opposed to productive, right? And this is feminine maybe saying to masculine, those modalities, there were experiences where masculine was like, subject me to their emotions as opposed to articulating them, and it made me overly protective, made me take things too personally, because that's that moment of, again, feminine saying, why does feminine take things personally when feminine has experiences with unhealed energy that utilizes emotions as weapons instead of tools? When does masculine shut down their emotional center? When feminine comes into that modality of, again, taking something too energetically personally, becoming defensive, using the emotions as tools. This is like that chicken and egg thing. So both of the energies have to recognize these tendencies within themselves in order to facilitate healing through them. Masculine and feminine separation. I'm going to say this right now. Please, 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 please. It is not enough today to tell someone how you feel. Tell someone what you want them to do with what you're feeling. Please listen to me in this way. This is the confusion point. It's a juxtaposition in lessons that's occurring right now in the Mercury retrograde. Because if you just come up to someone today and just articulate how you feel without allowing something in terms of talking about what that looks like in the long term, I'm telling you right now, that could be that moment you may be feeling like you're like excited because you feel like you're giving someone some grand gift, and all they're going to feel like you're giving them is some kind of huge energetic burden. Make sure that it is productive today. Masculine, if you really want feminine to know you care, come up with a plan. Tell them what that pathwork is. Tell them what your vision is. That's what feminine considers the vulnerability, the expression of the emotions. It's not just telling someone how much you feel or what you feel about them. It's telling them what you want with them. Feminine, recognize and identify, and you may have to articulate to masculine today. If masculine just comes towards you and articulates how they feel, how much work it's taken for them to do so. But you have to really kind of be very judicious. You have to let that be I want to say, don't become reactive. Let it be an educational moment. Help someone recognize that, again, the articulation of feeling something is longing. Telling someone you feel about someone, without telling you what you want to do with it is just expressions of longing. Love is the implementation of expression of love with action, what you want to do with it. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our 10 of Swords in combination with our 6 of Swords and its upright. Clarification coming through right now with our 6 of Wands. I'm telling you right now, guys, today is either a breakdown or a breakthrough moment. There could be beautiful breakthroughs that occur today. Beautiful breakthroughs. Healthy communication, productivity, expansion points. It could also be a moment of someone saying how they feel and feeling very validated and vindicated in that moment. And there may be a little bit more of that energy here. I just got to tell you, again, if something comes towards someone in a way that doesn't feel like it's helpful, it just feels like it creates an extra energetic burden. This could be a lot of that energy feeling validated and vindicated in doing so, because it is the energy that's perceiving something, not so much in the expression of the emotion, but whether it feels like there is something productive attached to it. So we see even now that there's a lot of that energy. This could be a beautiful day in relationality to that, so long as there is a plan there. While for masculine and feminine energy in separation, like again, the emotions that like build into intentionality. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that are coming into divine union, this is beautiful energy. Because this is the energy that's moving back into a point of productivity. And if there was any type of conflict energy that was occurring here over the last few days, that's now in the energy and separation, this is the energy that, again, didn't just have some kind of argumentation point and say, let it go. Just let it go. Just let's not talk about it. Because when we do that, what we're effectively, again, saying is that's going to be the energetic standard going forward. That's what we're going to do when that happens. We're just going to pretend it's not that it's not going to happen again. We're just going to pretend it doesn't. So we see even now that that's the energy, that having the ability to talk through, just even if it wasn't energetically perfect, being mindful and being able to talk through something instead of just trying to like brush it off the table, instead of just trying to diminish someone else's feelings. Even here, we feel like that's the energy that feels validated and vindicated. Masculine, feeling that sense, that ability of feminine to be present as they articulate upon their emotions. Feminine, experiencing and seeing a masculine that not only is able to feel their emotionality, but explain through it. This is a lot of the energy that's doing that work in terms of putting in the plans in place that'll allow for more productive path work going forward. While for masculine and feminine energy right now within divine union, this is the energy that's validating themselves on the way. And it's not, and again, I like to point out, it's not the fact that they feel like, this is not the energy that feels righteous in that path work. This is energy that questions themselves every step in the way. But the ability of working with counterpart energy that reaffirms one's own commitment in relationality to what you know your intention is. This is how the energy is pushing out of their own comfort zones in relationality to how they're navigating circumstances or situations. Final card for today's spread is, we have here our Page of Cups in its reversal. So this is just, I gotta tell you, I keep telling you guys, this particular retrograde is all about getting serious. There is a level and degree of seriousness that is entering circumstances or situations right now. No time for silliness. It's just simple. It's that simple. No time for silliness. And so we see even now, for a lot of that energy, even those modalities within the divine union, when we push out of our comfort zone, the reason we question it is, I told you again, a lot of the energy that's feeling the discomfort of pushing out of their comfort zone, they're asking themselves, do I feel uncomfortable because I'm doing something that I don't feel is internally right? Or is it because I'm doing something that I know is energetically right, but it's hard to do because I'm doing it in a way that isn't the typical modality of how one is? So we see even now that a lot of that energy, recognizing that and saying to oneself, yeah, I'm pushing out of my comfort zone. That's why something feels uncomfortable. This is the energy that's almost like learning, I told you, they're building that ability. They're stretching those muscles that they don't typically stretch. And if it feels awkward, it's because it's taking a position or doing something in a way that you haven't done before. But a lot of the energy is like reaffirming their own energetic commitment that they're coming out of their comfort zone. That's why something feels a little bit more difficult. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is coming into divine union, this is energy that's recognizing the real work that occurs when you're in a healthy energetic connection with a counterpart. Because this is an energy that's just doing what feels like it comes easily. This is the energy that's very self-referential. This is feminine, this is masculine and feminine. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. This isn't the energy that's saying to themselves, I'll change anything for you in order to build forth into this connection. This is the energy that says to one another, I see things about myself that I could not see before, that allow me to heal myself in ways that I could not heal before via the energetic connection that I have created with you. And that modality of recognition, that a moment of self-reference, that ability of seeing something that doesn't require you to be perfect, but almost allows that space for you to be able to heal and to grow and to change. This is how the energy builds into a pathwork of commitment with one another. Because this is the energy that almost says, for the sake of the partnership itself, I will continue on that pathwork of self-improvement. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is coming in, that is in separation, this is why today feels like so fundamental, because this is the recognition point of having what feels like an energetic breakthrough. And for some of the energy I'm seeing in separation right now, this is it is a breakthrough. It's feeling someone who's able to articulate their emotions, but also talk about what they're willing to change in a way, that's the acceptance of the emotions, being able to lay the groundwork about how those emotions change the pathwork going forward. So for a lot of that energy, that could be a lot of energy feeling like they're moving into divine union right now, because the ability of someone to articulate how they feel, but also to articulate what they want to change, that is the energy that is the expression point of feeling something that is changing. But for some of the energy right now, if this is just someone articulating their longing, if this is someone that's just articulating how they feel, but not necessarily coming into that place or space of explaining or desiring or requiring how that what impact that has or how that is to be held, this could be a lot of the energy that's looking and having that educational moment towards someone and saying, what you're giving me isn't necessarily feeling like a gift. It feels like you're giving it to me in order to try to solve some kind of energetic problem, right? And that's the energy that's almost potentially saying to someone, you have to think more maturely. You have to think more carefully about what you're bringing forth, because that's the difference of just allowing your emotions, saying something to get something off of your chest, right? That's the difference between just expressing something to get something off of your chest, as opposed to giving someone the gift of your emotions and the offer and the opportunity of what you want to build with them. Bottom of the deck on this reading right now, King of Cups in its reversal. This card will not leave us alone this week, and it's always in its reversal. So again, a lot of this work, what we're seeing, and you have to bear in mind, yesterday, I'll point this out. Yesterday we had our Queen of Pentacles in its reversal, bottom of the deck. Now we've got the King of Cups in its reversal, bottom of the deck. So feminine energy, again, I'm telling you even now, feminine, very focused on practical spaces and places right now. Feminine's entire focus right now is in what feels like it creates stability. This is a lot of the work right now. This is why the feminine is doing so much work across all of the frequencies in order to maintain those energetic standards to a certain extent. Feminine is getting extremely practical during this retrograde cycle. Masculine is getting extremely vulnerable, extremely emotional during this retrograde cycle. This is what I mean when I'm talking about the juxtaposition point in relationality to these lessons that are complementary, but they're not the same, which is why there has to be a mindfulness right now in relationality to recognizing that the perspectives are different. So we're seeing even here that for a lot of that work for feminine, and I'm telling you even now, if this is feminine that is focusing on the practical at a moment that masculine is suddenly having this like emotional breakthrough, you can see a lot of the feminine energy potentially looking at masculine and being like, now's not the time. Like, now's not the like it's a lot of that energy being like the timing feels like it's potentially off to a certain extent. Because we're really seeing that for a lot of that energy, you have to recognize. So for masculine, recognize, again, I just have this message coming over again and again. It's not, like feminine wants you to be in touch with your emotions. But when we talk about the ability of being in touch with our emotions, not only is it important to be able to feel our emotions, but we have to be able to introspect on our emotions. We have to think about whether when we give our emotions to others, how they will take them, what we want, what the desire is, like what that hope is. So this could be a lot of that masculine energy that's like working through that like other level of vulnerability in recognizing that, like, yes, for a lot of the feminine, there could be a lot of masculine. I see a lot of masculine being like, I thought you wanted me to be open about my emotions. And this could be a lot of the feminine going like, yes, I do. But you also have to be mindful about the fact that, like, when we give emotions to one another, like, we want that to feel, there needs to be a course of action there. Because when we give our emotions to someone and we just say, well, I'm just trying to be honest, I'm just trying to tell you how I feel, what you're really saying is you're making your emotions feel like a problem, and it's someone else's responsibility to solve them, right? We don't want to give each other homework. We want to do those assignments together. So a lot of that work that we're seeing here, maybe a lot of them, like for a lot of the masculine in separation, is understanding that expressing of the emotions is only one half of that equation. The other half is being able to articulate the plan going forward, or the aspiration of that plan. While for masculine and feminine energy, recognizing and identifying how much it takes for the masculine to open up in this way, don't get reactive. Let it be an educational moment if you feel like you're not receiving that full equation. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union right now, this could be a lot of that masculine that's working on that reorienting on the sense and the space, and remembering that feminine thinks when masculine is vulnerable about their emotions, feminine finds nothing stronger. But when masculine is controlled by their emotions, feminine does not consider that strength. Feminine considers that weakness. That's why there may have been a misconception of masculine saying, I can't have emotions, so that way feminine thinks I'm strong. No, it's not that. Feminine finds it incredibly strong when masculine is in a point of being able to articulate upon their emotions. But when a masculine has lost control, when masculine allows those emotions to navigate how they react to things or how they move, not only does feminine consider that a lack of control and a weakness, but it's also something that feminine feels like they need to become protective against. While for masculine and feminine energy that is deep within the divine union frequency, this is a lot of the feminine energy that is building into, like, this is a lot of that same navigational point, that nuance between masculine that is in the expression and like having that sense of being able to articulate through their emotions versus the energy reacting to it. So a lot of that nuance is coming into play, potentially even in navigating interpersonal relationships that feels like that sense. And again, I like to point out Stoicism is not feeling anything. Stoicism is feeling everything, but moving with intention. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and receiving it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber name at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website, so I encourage you to do it there. Also, I want to let you guys know of a few different updates before we begin our personal readings today. First and foremost, thank you to everybody who attended our class earlier this week on the Emperor. We will be continuing our tarot studies on Wednesday, September 11th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern, with an exploration into the Hierophant card, the next card in our tarot studies. If you would like to become a part of that live class program, go ahead and join my paid subscription to my Substack, graystrega.substack.com. Your paid subscription will grant you access to all of my live classes each month. You'll also have access to the course materials and recordings for all of my previous classes. So if you missed anything prior to this point, you've got ample opportunity to catch up. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions in relation to anything that we're studying. And if you become a founding member to my Substack, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, but you will also receive a complimentary mentorship class with me, wherein we will assess where you are in your own personal tarot studies, and I'll give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize the classes and your own studies to the best of your potential moving forward as you learn. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's certainly something there for everyone. So thank you if you're already joining us there, and I look forward to potentially seeing you at our next class. But even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings, courses, events. I post my weekly newsletter there, so you can stay up to date on my weekly live schedule. Also, we post any of the giveaway winners there. Congratulations to the individual who won our free reading for July. The August giveaway is now active. If you would like to win a free tarot reading with me, private tarot reading, go ahead and follow and get on the link tree in my bio. There is a 2-minute travel survey there. Filling out that travel survey will grant you an entry into the giveaway. But if you would like to increase your chances of winning, go ahead and forward that survey to a friend, because when I pull the winner, I'll be giving away a free reading, not only to the person who won, but also to the person who referred them. So thank you if you've already entered, and I wish you the best of luck of winning this month. Finally, I want to let you guys know of a few new offerings I offer on top of my standard life path readings. I now offer mentorship classes. These can be focused on any area that you are interested in or invest in studying further. I take a very limited number of students for this reason. I teach these classes on either an individual level, or you can purchase a monthly class package that is 4 45-minute readings, one per week over the span of a month. And also for my clients that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to be offering weekly tarot insight packages. That is a discounted rate on a package of 4 30-minute readings, one per week over the space of a month, so that you can stay more consistent on your own personal journey. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today, and I'd also like to let you know that we are now open to receiving additional moderators. Moderator applications are open for a short period of time. If you are interested in becoming a moderator on my channel, go ahead and email me at graystrega@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to send you that information. I want to thank you guys so much for being with me today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again